Hi, and welcome to another edition of Naked Talk with Beyond the Bedroom. I'm here with my lovely partner, Elizabeth, and we've got an exciting show for you tonight, or webcast for you tonight.
Naked Talk is where we get naked in a conversation of sexuality, intimacy, and relationship. We strip down and expose the bare facts so that you can learn what it takes for you to thrive in love, life, and ecstasy.
Yeah, so it's really our mission to teach people and provide an opportunity for people to learn about a variety of different topics. And that's one of the reasons why we have our guest speaker tonight. But we'll get into that a little bit more. Do you want to talk about our sponsor?
Yes, we'd like to thank tantradakini.org, your online resource for all things related to sacred sexuality. And you can look for that at www.tantradakini.org.
So tonight, I'm very excited to introduce our speaker, guest speaker. She is going to be coming into the Denver Boulder area starting August 22nd. And I have not met her face-to-face, but I'm going to be able to do that actually in about 3 days from now, 3 or 4 days from now. But on Friday, August 22nd, she's going to be doing a performance called Coming Out Kinky, an adult comedy.
Show.
Yeah, it's a one-woman show. Yeah, called Coming Out Kinky, a sexual comedy. No, oh gosh, I totally blown it, and I don't have it written down. She's gonna kill me, but she can expand on that later. And then, so after the 22nd, that will actually be at Shine Restaurant in Boulder. And then Saturday morning, we have an introduction to S&M. An S&M 101, if you will, that will be held at the Dangerous Theater in Denver. And then that evening, we will do another of the comedy show. And then that following Sunday, we'll be doing another Intro to S&M 101 here in Boulder. So we've provided a lot of opportunities for local people in the Denver Boulder area to meet with Jean, and hopefully tonight we'll sell you on how exciting she is and what fun it is.
Mercilessly.
Tease would be better, yeah. But no, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet her in person. I'm excited to hear what she has to say today. So welcome, welcome.
All right, so let's bring her in.
How did I do?
Yay,
Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction. I was laughing on my side. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to kill him. It's Coming Out Kinky, a grown-up comedy.
Coming Out Kinky. What did I say?
Oh, I mean, a sexual comedy, which is true. I was playing with titles, and that was one of them I was working on. A solo show, absolutely accurate. Everybody's right here.
Well, good. You can beat me later if you'd like.
Okay, if you insist.
Right, so would love to just kind of launch right into it. Why don't you tell us, so you're going to be coming in town on August 22nd at the Shine Restaurant in Boulder. We're going to have a really fun venue for that. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what your comedy show is going to entail?
Sure. So it all started with a breakup. I'm sure we've all had those. And for mine, I was in a relationship that went longer than it needed to because I didn't yet have the skills to say, okay, I'm through with this and I need to move on. I was really, I think, codependent. I was just having a hard time separating. And it was the longest relationship I'd ever had, so I can forgive myself. It was kind of new. Point is that what wasn't working in that relationship, although we had friendship and love together, the sex wasn't working, and it hadn't been for some time. And when I finally detached from that relationship and got over the grief and such, I revised a list I'd been keeping in my mind, which I call my sexual bucket list. I became dedicated to adventure, safe adventure, being mindful of my safety, being both emotionally, physically, in all areas. I allowed myself to follow my own interests, my own curiosities, and relentlessly. And that led me on an adventure that I couldn't stop writing about. It was soulful and emotional and filling and empowering, and part of it is that I discovered the world of S&M, and was shocked to find it very compelling for me. I was shocked to find it fascinating, fulfilling. I didn't understand what was happening to me, but what I did know is that a bunch of energy, basically I think it was repressed energy, was being unleashed, and I was so much happier and more vibrant. And one thing is for sure is I didn't have anybody to talk to about it, or I didn't feel like I did because it was so weird. So I wrote a lot, and eventually I did find people that I could begin to share these adventures with, because anybody in my world asked me, so how are you doing? My real answer was, I've discovered this world of S&M and I'm completely, it's amazing, it's fascinating, let me tell you all about it. And so writing was a great outlet for me. Ultimately, I really had no idea where I would ever share.
So where did you learn to talk to people about it? Where did you go?
Incrementally. It was really incremental. So I began with friends, women friends that I knew really well. I knew they would love me no matter what I said, and that worked out. Okay, so that happened. And then I began sharing my writings in writers' groups. And at first it was with women, then it was mixed groups, and that went okay. Eventually I did my first reading in public. Okay, people came up to me and said it was powerful work. Okay, so you get it, like I really did it incrementally, because it was a bit overwhelming to go from, I'm a corporate person, and I still am. So the idea of talking publicly about things that are easy to talk about, like communication skills and customer service and things like that, and then go to talking publicly about these intimate details of my life, that did take some doing. That was a bit of a shock to my system.
Mm-hmm. So what was the response of the people that you were talking to?
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm remembering one friend who said, Jean, I love you, and I don't really need to hear any more about that. And she still is a supporter, and she is a beloved friend. And when it comes to this stuff, it's just not in her wheelhouse of comfort zone. And so we have a mutual agreement to have that not be in our dialogue. The people that I'm closest to in my world, I can be really candid with about what I'm up to. So these are the sex geeks and the sex educators and the sexually aware, sex positive folks. These are my ilk. This is my kind of chosen family. And so I'm finding people as I go, and surprised too. I get surprised who's in that circle. Mm. I went to a workshop given by Kamala Devi. It was called Polypalooza, and that was mind-blowing. Several days of hanging out with people who are polyamorous, believe in loving more than one person concurrently, and when I got home from that, I felt so much support. There were so many of us at that event. I felt so held that within a few days, I went on Facebook and I outed myself. And I said on Facebook, hi everybody. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I've been writing a play. It's about sexuality. I've been studying with the best sex educators out there. And just so you know, I'm about to launch a campaign to support the world premiere of my solo show. So don't be surprised. You're going to begin seeing some posts. And I got nothing but support. Nice. Nice. It's been really nice.
You're in the corporate world as well. So were you concerned at all about coming out and your corporate life kind of intertwining?
Absolutely, and I still am. It's still an unfolding story. One thing that came up, and when I spoke to my mom about these issues, which actually there's 2 scenes in my show about the conversation I had with my mother about this stuff, which is why the title is what it is. She helped me come up with that title because I came out to her.
Well, that's nice.
But anyway, yeah, it was amazing. It's a favorite part of the show for many people who see it. But when she found out about it, she's like, well, you'll just use a pseudonym, right? And what I realized is that my message, just coming from the heart, from my gut, is about transparency. I discovered that there is a lot in this expression of sexuality that I found very healing and holistic and delightful and delicious and hilarious. It's basically, there's such a big experience there for me that I refuse to go in hiding about it because it's too valuable a tool. Some people are finding it helpful in healing sexual trauma. Other people are finding it, and I'm one of them, I'm finding that it's opening my personality. There were parts of myself that I shut down as a young person because I thought that was not me, and part of that had to do with my power. I'd shut down some of my power. So, kind of jumping a little bit, but practicing the skill set of being a dominant female in erotic exchanges with partners. It's a lot of words, but basically practicing being dominant brought this whole other part of my personality back. It was a reclaiming of myself. And if people can reclaim parts of themselves by practicing this, it's too powerful to be quiet about.
Yeah, that's kind of a similar journey for myself. Being in the corporate world as a software engineer, I ended up having 2 Facebook profiles. One was my personal profile that the world could see, had all my companies that I worked for, all my friends from high school all the way through the rest of my life. And then I had my private one, which was actually a little bit more public than my public one, but it was all about DACA Dan and Beyond the Bedroom and the things that I was doing around sexuality and education. And finally, I realized that I did not want to go back into the corporate world at all anymore. And I merged them probably about a year ago now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been really fun. I post everything on there. I'm pretty much of an open book. I've had people that have contacted me because I post events all the time that are coming up and things we have going on. We had a class on blowjobs recently.
I saw that.
Yeah. And it was really well received, well attended, and some of the people that were friends of mine have asked me not to invite them. Said, well, we're too public, or you're too public with your information, and I don't want people in the real world seeing that I'm really associated with you. So
yes, that's fair. Yeah,
it's fair, but I don't really know how to not invite them to these things, so I basically just unfriended them. Then if you can't take what I'm putting out there, which has no real relevance to you other than you happen to know me, it's like, okay, I'm sorry, I just have to unfriend you. And
it's a tough one. It's really tough, and I'm sure that you took it kind of personally. I just today read a post on Facebook where Damon Holzum, he's a gay sex educator based here in Los Angeles, where I live. He got a Facebook note from somebody saying, I'm in a more religious world, and your workshops don't jive with me. Please don't invite me anymore. And he had the temptation to flame, he had the temptation to judge, and he realized these are 2 differing views. That's absolutely okay. What that person could have done is reported him for something and made it a Facebook issue, and instead that person had a one-on-one conversation, and he was like, you know what, I appreciate that. Yeah. What I'm learning the hard way is that if somebody likes my page, and my page is called Coming Out Kinky, if they like it, that means that their liking of it becomes public to everyone they know. So just because I'm out does not mean that all of my Facebook people want to talk about sexuality with their clients. And so it becomes a non-consensual sharing. So I get why you unfriended them is to simplify your life, that you want to invite everybody. What I'm realizing is I'm starting a document of like the people I don't invite to certain events. Like there's a professor, there are 2 professors who immediately, as soon as I invited him to a workshop, which was called Kinky and Curious, within an hour, both of them contacted me and said, "You can't, please, no, don't do that." And I gotta respect that, and I like these people, so I have to learn that not everyone is on my journey. I'm happy
and protect, their wishes and desires. Facebook is so public, and your future employer could see that, and you don't know where each one of us wants to be employed in 5 years, 2 years, even 1 year. And so paths change, and even though they're your friends, the different interests, I think it's a great thing that everybody's reached out. The gentleman you just spoke about, and a couple of the associates or network people that Dan is affiliated with, they did the right thing by just saying, hey, please, they didn't bash him, they didn't disrespect him, they just said, for whatever reason, please stop inviting me. So
well, and it was nice because one of them I reached back out to and I said, look, I'm sorry, was I sending too much information or what? And he explained to me what was going on, and I'm not angry with him. I understand what's going on. Yeah. And at the same time, sending the information out that I send out really doesn't reflect on them unless they do like it or join it. And we did have somebody who joined our blowjob class on Facebook, and that is very public. And immediately her daughter gave her a call, said, "So you're going to this blowjob class?" And she's like, "Oh no!" So she had to go in and delete it.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
really, it's important to know, and I think the bigger question that we're dealing with is, why isn't an adult allowed to go to a class to learn how to be a better beloved?
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Why can't we enjoy pleasure and not feel like that makes us less corporately skilled? Excuse me?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the connection?
Yeah.
Why is it that a client did fire me, by the way, one client? And why is it that she was fearful that if this big healthcare organization, which was one of her clients, was aware that one of their corporate trainers was into sex education, that would reflect badly upon her? That's the bigger question. That's why we're in business, is to remove the shame and to remove the taboo from the most natural human experience, why we're all here. I mean, if we can just get to the we're all brought in from this pleasure at the very least. It's such a great, I'm just so grateful for you, what you guys do.
Well, thank you.
I'm so grateful because we're all coming together to make a difference and to stand up with our names and to say, this is meaningful, this is powerful, and we will not be silenced. We're going to help the world, one person at a time.
One person, one couple, at one group, one threeple, whatever you want to call it.
One blowjob at a time.
So tell me a little bit. Do you play different characters in the one-woman show?
I do, and one of them, what I'm delighted by is that all of my acting, all those acting classes, year after year of them, have finally come together to serve me. I play 20 different characters from myself in different phases of my life, from a young person, moving on. I play a variety of different men who have been in my life, and that's a joy, especially the bodybuilder, which is a beloved character in the show, and even a character who is ethereal and I would say kind of magical. And that's a really fun one too, is I get to play something very, very sprightly, like if you can imagine Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream, very sprightly and playful and joyful and full of support in all of us following our love and following our pleasure. So that's a fun character. Yeah, she dances. She dances.
Well, are you going to ask the audience to dance with you? Because that probably won't happen here.
Actually, happily, the audience simply gets to relax and enjoy the show. What's been a delight, we had a world premiere here in Los Angeles, which just finished last month, and what's been a delight is that people have seen it a few times. So already that makes me feel like, what are they getting the second time or a third time? And they're into it. And as a performer, as a solo performer, there are moments when I can observe the audience, even though I'm being watched. It's just an interesting thing. My brain can work on a few different levels. And I'll see somebody I care about in the audience, and they'll kind of hold hands with the person next to them whom they love, as if they're watching like their favorite TV show or something. And I'm like, wow, that's my story that they're relaxing and I'm holding on to, and it's incredibly satisfying. I can't wait to share it with Boulder and with Denver.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. How long, just remind me, I know you talked about it being after a breakup, but did you mention how long ago that was? I mean, how long have you been on this Kinky Journey show?
Yeah, so I'd say like 4.5, 5 years. So the breakup was somewhere along there, and then I didn't discover the kink stuff right away. I was just trying, meeting different people, asking questions, trying stuff, being more open. In fact, for a while there, I thought that sex was off the table for me because I was suffering from what's called vaginismus, which is that painful burning sensation during intercourse. And what was happening was my body was saying no to my current boyfriend, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize that my body was helping me to realize this wasn't a match. So the only way my body could communicate was by completely clenching down when we tried to make love, and I just wanted to do nothing but avoid it. And so when the relationship was over, I thought vaginismus was going to be part of my life forever. So my first point of business was I found a safe partner to make love with, and voila, it was gone. There was no vaginismus. There was just a happy sexual response.
Yeah,
Like,
vaginismus is one of those, it's a psychological issue as opposed to vulvodynia, which is more, more of a physiological issue. So, yeah, so good for you.
Thank you.
Brain, your mind was telling you what to do ahead of time.
Yes, and I just didn't realize how deeply that I need to respect the body's messages, and I'm getting a lot better at that now. Yes, and then so one play partner told me that there was an S&M club in Los Angeles, and you might as well have told me that. It was just so fantastical to me that such a thing actually existed within driving distance of where I lived. And so I started to pester him to take me to this so-called S&M club, and that was the beginning of a real journey. I had no idea that people were playing like this, and I found it sort of odd, like I didn't know what to make of it, but there was something in me that was responding. So there's a scene in my show where I actually reenact the new person, the wide-eyed, innocent me, coming to this club and looking at stuff and having observations and adventures, and it's a really fun part of the show. I think the audience is worried for me, like, what is going to happen to her? And it turns out okay. But from there, I did find a dominant partner to play with, somebody who had a lot of experience, and that's where the mind-blowing really began.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting because with 50 Shades of Grey, the books having come out, I know the woman who runs the dungeon in Denver, and she said she had an amazing number of people that called her up and said, "Wow, I didn't know this kind of thing existed. I read 50 Shades of Grey, and I was really wet. I was really excited, whatever." And she had to tell him and explain to him, like, okay, look, that book doesn't really describe adequately what it is that we do here. Let me kind of go through this with you, and then if you still would like to show up, then great. And she does a great introductory class at the venue itself to talk about etiquette and things like that with her space. And but yeah, even our first date was at that club, so it was kind
really?
No.
Awesome.
That
is hot. That's hot for a first date. I really appreciate, what is her name again, who runs that club in Denver?
Love Slave.
So Love Slave, I love how gentle that she was. She didn't shun anybody. Instead, she said, let me help you, let me explain, because it is a whole world to explore. Just as you mentioned, there's etiquette, there's jargon and lingo and language, and if you're into clothes, there's clothes, and there's so much to know about safety, and there's so much to know, of course, about consent. So there's a lot to say. I find myself, like, my experiences probably make me very different than the mainstream culture, although probably there's 10% of us who play in these worlds a little bit. But even so, I consider myself a light player. I do. There's so much out there that I don't participate in, but I would be interested in watching or looking, and I don't necessarily seek it out, but if it's there, I'll be like, hey, what's up? So my message is not necessarily about kink, but that's my like vehicle to talk about being sex positive.
Well, and I think that's beautiful because you're right. Most people, I would imagine, have tried a little taste of kink, whether it's tying somebody up to their bed or their partner, blindfolding them, little spanking, things like that. I mean, you go into any of the sex-positive sex stores, and they've got a little section on playing like that. And I think most people have attempted it, maybe not super deep and super involved. Like, one of the things that Love Slave talked about to the people that called her up, looking at 50 Shades of Grey, said, look, kind of what they did, a little bit of spanking, stuff like that, really wasn't that big a deal. You get in, and there's some people that do some really serious stuff that may freak you out. So you just need to be prepared for that. And I would say we're light too. We've gotten into a couple things, played with it. I like shibari. I think it's beautiful artwork, and we're not into the pain aspect of it. And I don't judge anybody who is. I have a better understanding of why people are doing that for them. So
I once read an amazing article about a woman who had a real mental disability. It was debilitating anxiety and depression, debilitating. Her beloved partner was a dominant, and she was in the submissive role with him. And when she would go catatonic with her deep level of emotional pain, he could give her impact, which to the outside person looks like hitting, spanking, or flogging, but he would give her impact to a deep degree that could be disturbing to watch, but from her perspective, it brought her back into her body and back into sanity. So it was actually a mental health technique that the two of them practiced. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
So many different healing aspects to this line of play, which it sounds really like an oxymoron that we're saying, so many branches of healing, and then we're also using the word play. But the childhood traumas, some of the rape traumas, different things that different men and women are allowed to play out with safety, with consent, with understanding, with their safe words. We too know about all the documented cases of some deep symptom reversal and real deep healing for the men and women who venture into this area just for that particular piece, the healing aspect of it. So we're not to judge. And what may seem odd to someone in the outside world, if they sat down with that person and talked with them and had like an in-depth understanding of that either man or woman's process, and even going so further as to talk to the person who takes part in the storytelling. The level of understanding really will wash away any doubt or any fear or any real concern like that person's in dangerous harm. So it really, I think, to the point that we are all sitting here and being together for the next 5 days, actually starting on Friday, it's about education and the more information each person has. Look, S&M might not be somebody's, turn on. But for that person who's curious about it, how wonderful that you can come out with your own story, that one or two people may, freak out and leave the theater. Better yet, 5, 6, 7, however many people might be turned on to a level of understanding that you provided them with. So basically it's education. People can make their own choices.
Well, what naturally happened with the show is that because of my corporate background and basically that I'm a teacher on one level, married with the creative background of the writing and acting, the piece itself is incredibly gentle. The introduction is for everyone. And people who come feeling frightened, like they're going to be overwhelmed, are like, whoa, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And so I'm really proud of that fact. And also that what I can bring to the sex-positive community that's sort of unique is that in my show I am embodying the pleasure. I'm embodying the turn-on so that the audience gets a visceral understanding of what it could be. And that's my edgy, that's my edgy offering, is that I'm saying, here's what it looks like, sort of, for me. And it's a pleasure to be able to be in pleasure with the audience and have them participate in that just by being there with me.
Well, and it's also going to be fun. It's a comedy, so.
Oh yeah, we laugh a lot.
All right.
We laugh a lot, absolutely. That's such a joy, is to bring a sense of humor to all of this, particularly the mother-daughter talk.
Great.
Yeah.
How old's your mom?
What?
How old's your mom?
She is in her 70s, and I hope she's not listening because she will hate me for saying that. But she's a beautiful 70-something, and she's a really open-minded woman. Her first concern is always for my safety. Her second concern is for my happiness. And so when she found out about this stuff, She was worried right away because she doesn't know much about it. She just knows it's scary in her thinking. And so once we calmed down, you know, we just had a quiet talk about what her concerns were and what her judgments were and her assumptions. Thank goodness she's got an open mind and she's a curious woman. And so she started asking questions, and I'm like, those are really good questions, Mother.
Nice.
Sounds
It's
very
good for her to be.
Questions you've got there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Huh.
She's a really special woman.
Great. So that's going to be the 22nd of August at Shine in Boulder, which is right downtown Boulder, a very popular spot in Denver. I'm sorry, in Boulder. With great food. So if you're interested in coming out to that show, come early, have dinner, then come back to the event itself. We'll be there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And how long is the play?
The show is 70 minutes long with no intermission, so use the restroom, come to the show, 70 minutes, it'll be over before you know it.
Right.
You'll be like, what?
Right.
That's it?
Yeah.
I've started to communicate and connect with the university and college communities in town, Denver, in Boulder, and Greeley, etc. Because the show has actually become part of a presentation called Sexual Esteem with Kinky Jean, where I'm bringing it to universities and bringing the message through kink. Really, it's bringing the message of consent, of empowerment, and safe exploration to universities. So that's been really fun. So given that I'm going to be there because of you guys hosting me, might as well have the university community check it out to see if they want to bring me back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that opportunity to do that.
Of course, our pleasure. Yeah, and we can put you in touch with a lot of people in the universities because we're pretty intimately familiar with a number of people. They've had us come in and talk at a variety of classes on.
And here I am reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's making these calls. Oh my goodness! Why didn't I reach out to you and tell
you?
you?
Now it's your turn to get beat. So.
Yeah, you may know different people than we do. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, we'll spread the wealth.
Yep.
Thank you. I've been calling gender studies and women's studies groups on campus.
Yeah. And it's all about sharing the resources. So we'll get to you.
Right. So it's at Shine on the 22nd, and then at the Dangerous Theater on Saturday the 23rd.
And it's all on
Denver.
the website, bedevents.com. You just go to the events, and you can register right online. You know, we won't bore you with too many more of those details, other than it's coming up quickly. So
2 weeks.
You know, the workshop in both locations will be limited to a certain number of people. So come early and come often, as they say.
Can I mention about the workshops? They're called Welcome to S&M, a Gentle Introduction. And anybody can attend as long as they're an adult. And there is no touching required in this workshop. You can watch and simply part of discussions the whole time and just witness. However, there are opportunities to experience and try and learn the skill set of consent, the skill set of safe words and all of that, but it's all quite gentle. But the S&M is actually, in the nerdiness of that world, it's the larger acronym is BDSM, which stands for bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism. So it stands for 6 things.
Well, that's good you got that. Most people just say BDSM is bondage, discipline, sadomasochism. They forget the other part. So.
Dominance and submission. So in the class, we're going to go over each element point by point and get a little taste of each one. So you will walk out with a real sense of it, and it'll be certainly fun and very experiential if you'd like.
And can people come as an individual? Do they need to come in a pair?
Absolutely not. You can come as an individual. You can come with a friend, a group of friends, a partner, a beloved. It's completely fine. It'll be a group of us, and it doesn't need to be gender balanced in any way. It's simply a class to learn and practice stuff together.
Nice.
BYOB and BYO. Meaning bring your own belt and bring your own rope. And don't worry, there won't be any striking with the belts.
Okay.
But we might use them for a short exercise, an experiential exercise, which I won't tell you, so you'll come.
Okay.
Great.
So there will be some type of demos that, instruction before we let the classroom free. That's what I'm assuming.
Absolutely. In fact, there will be an introduction of one thing. I'll talk about it. We'll discuss it in the group, and then I'll offer a short exercise we'll do the exercise, come back to the group, and then move on to the next thing. So it'll just be little mini exercises throughout, and then we'll close with a closing circle and check in with each other and see what we learned.
Okay,
Great.
sounds fun. So you don't do this full time. This is your side gig, your pleasure zone. Is that what I'm understanding? You still are, if you will, knee deep in the corporate world?
That's right. So actually it's starting to blend more and more, where now I'm touring with my show. Last month I was in Chicago, this month Colorado, next month Portland, so things are actually shifting. And with the event we're going to this week, which is Reed Mahalko's Sex Geek Summer Camp, I'll be learning lots more skills about how to build this business. So I'm imagining that there will be a blend, and who knows, just like you said before, Elizabeth, like who knows what a few years will bring, but I'm having such a marvelous time. So I like the idea of going more towards the college market, more towards presenting this more fully. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, so you mentioned Chicago. Where on earth did you play in Chicago? It's my hometown.
At GD2, the nonprofit called Galleria Domain. It is an S&M nonprofit club.
Wow, that was
Yes.
live there. Maybe I should go back. Not that I know of. Wow.
If you Google Galleria Domain or GD2, you will find they are a fabulous community. It is a very well run, like it's run like a tight ship, and they have classes and they have events and they have play parties, and they have so many volunteers swarming around there, making it amazing. So we did this show. Over 80 people were there.
Where is it?
It is I think downtown. I don't know the neighborhood well enough to be able to tell you specifics, but it's in a secret place upstairs and without any signs. You know what I mean? You have to know where it is.
Like the old speakeasies that are littered.
Yeah, it was like a speakeasy.
Yeah, all throughout Chicago.
So many stairs. You have to bring your thigh muscles because you're not getting in there until you're going to go way up, 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 up.
But it is downtown Chicago, not like one of the suburbs.
Nope, it's right there.
Okay,
Cool.
cool.
Fun.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Trip
I
home
see a trip in your future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and one of the things with the class, I know that Love Slave, the owner of the sanctuary, is offering a discount to people who attend your workshop. So they can go to the workshop on Saturday, and then to get in, it's a membership-only type venue, the sanctuary is, and she gives you a discount, not off the membership, but off of the door price.
Nice.
And she will talk you through or talk to people through the etiquette protocols for her location specifically.
Nice.
And talk about some of the things that's going on. I've attended that before. It's very well done. So it's a great tie-in with what you're offering.
Tie-in.
Yeah, no pun intended. But it gives people an opportunity who have taken the intro class to then, if they want to explore, do that. And that's one of the things that Beyond the Bedroom is really all about. We try to provide a very safe, or safe as possible type environment for people to learn, and then they can go out and explore that kind of thing. And so it's a perfect opportunity to do something exactly like that.
Yeah, maybe if I could figure out and learn about what their membership is, I can stay after and play. That's what I did in Chicago. It was like such an amazing experience to do a show about it and then meet the audience and then play with the audience, so to speak. Just watch and observe and check out and try and taste test, and it was a great facility. So I can't wait to see the sanctuary in Denver.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool location and facility. I've been there a number of times and mostly to watch, and that's perfectly okay. Voyeurism is something that you can absolutely do. Yeah. And played a little bit, but it's definitely fun to go there. So it'll be a great opportunity for us to go in and play after your class, and I'm sure that Love Slave will let us do that without any problem.
Now, actually, if I'm remembering it right, we're doing the class during the day and then the performance that evening in Denver.
Correct. So
you can make a whole day of it.
Right.
Whole day of Kinky.
Right. Yeah, so the workshop itself is at the sanctuary, and then the play is at the Dangerous Theater.
Is that far away? Is that a far distance from each other?
Nope. Very close, in fact.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
We tried to make it as easy as possible.
Thank you.
Traffic was really kind of crappy in Denver, so we don't want people to have to drive if they can help it.
So
Okay.
can you, without, well, I mean, you've written about it. So what types of things did you first take your baby steps in? You know, there are all different aspects of S&M. What intrigued you? What did you dismiss as not for me? Can you share some of that with our audience?
Sure. I, you know, the baby step might have been going to that club in LA, which actually is also called the Sanctuary in Los Angeles. So just going there, and you know, and somebody offered to tie me up, and I'm like, okay, I'll try that. You know, it was just very sweet. When I found somebody who was a dominant player, who said, "Would you like to have a scene with me?" It was not a baby step. It was a wholehearted, complete, like, dive right into the pool, and that's, I think, why it was so unforgettable for me with him. He was a safe partner. We had safe words in place, and he was very skilled, and it blew my mind. So I was a submissive, as maybe you can tell. I played as a submissive with him, and everything about the exchange of power is what I found intoxicating. As a professional woman, as a businesswoman in a world where I have to make ends meet and organize this life of mine, it is really relaxing to release all of that and surrender. And surrender is I feel very, it's an exquisite feeling to surrender, and that's what I've kept over the years. That's what still works for me.
Yeah.
Like you guys, impact play, like, I like the impact when and then when it starts to get too edgy to the point of what I would call pain, I'm not enjoying it as much. I mean, there's been places for it where it somehow brought me to another place or took me to a different threshold, you know, and there's an interest in there, but it's not something I crave all the time.
Yeah, and
So
it's interesting to note that a lot of people think the BDSM world is really painful and horrible, and that the people were, you know, must have been abused as children. And the fact of the matter is, it's one of the safer sex acts that's out there, because
when done right.
When done right, yes. There are people that go far beyond what should be done, as with anything, but they're the ones that communicate the best. I mean, how many couples have I counseled around, you know, things, issues of communication where, oh, you know, I didn't want to have sex, but I did anyway. And in the BDSM world, you don't have that. You've got people that know how to negotiate, know how to ask for what they want and don't want, are willing to state their boundaries. Sometimes they're willing to explore it, but that's what the safe words are for. If you give a yellow in a direction, you know, that you're going in, and you decide that you don't like it, then great. So they slow down, they kind of go off in a different direction. Or if you give red, then immediately you stop. And it's really valuable, because how many people are going to want to get flogged or whipped if they're not really in the mood? Whereas how many people are willing to go ahead and have sex if they're not in the mood?
Yeah, that is such a drag. I really want to, from now on, have only encounters, sexual and beyond, that are hell yes, rather than just, meh, I guess so for you. Who wants that? Who wants to participate in meh or meh? But I love what you're saying about the consent piece and also the negotiation. My director, who also developed the show with me over 18 months, this was all new to her. So she was a perfect person to kind of witness it from top to bottom, and she was jealous at the level of communication that would happen before couples or partners would actually become intimate or erotic with each other. They knew so much about each other already. They had so much foundation of communication in place. So you're not just wandering around wondering if you're doing it right, you know, so to speak. You kind of already know they like this or don't like this and such.
Yep. And it's fun to explore different things. I mean, we've tried a number of different things for us, and you know, some didn't work, some did. Even the shibari. I love shibari. I love watching somebody who's really good at it, and we have some good people in Denver that really know what they're doing. And just watching them tie somebody up, it's a very slow process. It's beautiful. It's sensual.
It's hypnotic. It can be hypnotic.
Absolutely. And it's not painful. I mean, they can get into that later if somebody wants, but you know, for us, we like doing it because it was a beautiful kind of thing. In fact, some of her Halloween costumes are different rope designs, and they may take an
Ooh.
hour to put together. So it's a little
Aw.
so it's not something that we can do all the time, but it can be a lot of fun with that.
I'm sure they looked very beautiful.
She does. She does.
I'd like to see some photos.
I don't know if we have
Yes.
Oh yeah, we do.
The idea of shibari, which I'm sure your listeners must know because you might have mentioned it in the past, is that it's Japanese rope bondage, right? Also called kimbaku, right? Kimbaku. What's fascinating about it,
shibari, yep.
I've received it, I've been on the receiving end of it, and I go into this state of passivity that is so relaxing, and some people in this scene of BDSM call it subspace. It's like this floaty, wonderful, relaxing place that it takes me. So the last time I had somebody really expert take me there, it was blissed out for a long time. It stuck with me, and there's no drug happening except for the internal hormones of perhaps oxytocin and a few other hormones getting kicked up. It's fascinating stuff.
Well,
how much pleasure you can get
kicked in, which is the same kind of thing that runners get. They get that what they call that runner's high. It's all the endorphins are flooded into the bloodstream and put you in a different mind state, and that's exactly what subspace is too.
Which also is why some people do like impact play, and people who are sadists and masochists who work well together because they both like the opposite thing. Some of them love it because the cocktail in their body gets them to such a heightened state of pleasure and bliss that there's nothing like it, and they want to have that high experience. And I definitely have been there with the dominant partner I was with for almost 2 years. He took me to some places, boy, and I'll never forget. That's why I did so much writing about it. It was mind-blowing.
Nice.
Were you a writer before this?
Yes, I had written a short film about internet dating, which still can be found on YouTube, called, if you put in internet dating and my name Jean, or Jean Franzblau, you'll find it. And it was a corporate woman teaching guys what not to do in approaching women on the internet. And this was years ago when it was taboo to meet anybody on the internet. People were getting married and never sharing that they met each other on a dating website because it was just not cool at the time.
Yeah, isn't
That's
that
how
funny?
long ago I did that.
Now people are almost kind of proud of it. It's like, oh yeah, we met on Match.com. But
Absolutely.
even as little as 1 or 2 years ago, I remember people saying, I'd ask them like, well, how did you meet? Like, oh well, should we tell them? Is it okay?
Yeah.
We met online. Like,
well, it was kind of tough for my former partner and I because we were like, how did we meet? And we'd look at each other, bondage.com. I mean, that's become a more taboo answer.
yeah, I guess that would be for
Yeah.
some people.
So I think that it's really important. BDSM isn't necessarily about sex. In a lot of the scenes, and I'd love for you to actually explain the word scene to the newbies who are watching. But quite often that scene doesn't actually result in sexual intercourse or any really blatant sexual activity. It's more of the sensation. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I was surprised when I found out that some people play in S&M or BDSM and they're not looking for an erotic component or to make love during or after it. I was actually quite shocked because I find it so erotic. But that's absolutely the case, that when you're negotiating with a new partner, you better find out if they're in it for sexual pleasure, because if you're not, then you're not going to be a good match with each other. Some people do want to simply experience the bliss of feeling power or the bliss of surrender without any eroticism at all. No hard-ons, no moisture, just this wonderful exchange of power or this wonderful exchange of energy. So what a great point to talk about that. You don't have to be in it for sex, just to be real curious and just try. Yeah. Yeah,
and also describe what a scene is, because I think, obviously we're talking about your play, so there's a scene and a play. Help our viewers understand a scene that is well negotiated in a BDSM club or a private house party. Who knows?
Sure. So now the word scene is used in 2 different ways in BDSM. One is called the scene. I've been in the scene for 6 years, which means I've been into BDSM and been to classes or been to events or played publicly or played privately. I've been into it for 6 years. That's what in the scene means. But a scene, what Elizabeth, what you were just talking about, that would be a negotiated period of time where you will act in the role that you've decided with your partner and with all of the negotiations in place. So what that might look like with my dominant partner would be between the hours of 6 and 10 p.m., I would be his. And what his means is he owns me. Now, he can't damage my skin. He can't do anything to hurt me in any kind of permanent way. It's psychologically, emotionally, physically, all of those things are discussed. But there are a lot of things he can do, like tell me to do this or tell me to sweep something. Or now this isn't everybody's BDSM, but ours was. He could tell me to do a lot of different things that might be embarrassing or that might make me feel silly. What?
French maid outfits?
I never, only once did I do something like that, and he has and he loved it. It was really, really fun. Because there I was, like I was mopping, wearing very little of anything, and maybe heels. So we do have that image. We do have that image to play with. But I think another word to describe all of this that you said before, Elizabeth, is the word play. It's extremely playful. Sometimes a partner and I will be laughing. Sometimes we'll be in a deep state of intimacy. Sometimes a partner will weep. And all of that can happen in the context of a scene. And so at the end of that period of time, the dominant partner is responsible for what's called aftercare, and that is negotiated as well. And that could be a period of time of holding, of straight conversation where it's just you're back to being the two of you, talking about maybe how it went, what you liked, what was the experience like, and then even talking the next day via text or a phone call where the dominant will check in to see how the submissive is doing emotionally, physically, all of that, which I really like. I like aftercare.
Yeah, we had a situation, so on our first date, ended up that I was part of a scene, and that's a whole different story that we can tell you later. Okay. And at the end of it, we had ridden our motorcycle there, and so I was the one driving the motorcycle, and I was still not quite together. I thought I was, but it was kind of an interesting ride home.
This is a really important point, is that after playing, you should assume that you're high. Yeah. Assume that you're drunkish. Yep. Not in the chemical level of alcohol in the body, but in terms of perception. I learned that the hard way after that first incredible multiple-hour lovemaking that I had with the partner I was with for almost 2 years. We in the middle of the night, as two lovebirds will do, first of all, we went to a deli and we had soup. Okay, because we're like, what should we do now? We were so amped, so we had our soup. Then we came home and, now it's 3 in the morning. Of course we should go in the pool. I mean, that was just the next thing we thought logically would happen. And so I put on his T-shirt, and that was super romantic, dove into the pool and skinned both of my knees because my depth perception was off.
Yeah. At least you didn't break your neck, and that's something that happened too.
Yeah. True. So thank goodness for that, but I certainly had 2 scars for quite some time to remind me to be mindful and also to remind my partner to watch out for the submissive who's high.
Yeah. Good point. Really good point.
Wow, there's there's
a lot.
Yeah, it is. But I think the learning about the different components is so important. Pre-negotiation before you even for the slightest first step into a scene. There's such boundaries around and heavy-duty rules about the negotiation, and then the scene takes place. Yeah,
I have 2 resources for it too.
Oh, good. And then, after the scene, the importance of aftercare. What you're describing is what I said earlier, is when S&M BDSM is done well. So, there's a shadow side to everything. We want to, and which is why you're going to be teaching for us. We want to make sure that our audience is safe if they venture out into this domain. 50 Shades of Grey really put the conversation of BDSM on the map. The importance for the both of us is to have our audience really understand that you go into this gradually. You go into this with a great amount of learning, and the more you understand, the safer you'll be in this area. So we're really excited to have you come out here. We're excited to be with you and read Mahalko at the end of this week. You know, we're just going to, you know, kind of wrap this up and leave our audience with these teasers. Again, you can find all the information directly on www.bedevents.com. Right underneath the event tab. But once again, all the activities start August 22nd.
Right, and there's early bird registration pricing, so if you know you want to attend, then I would recommend you go ahead and sign up sooner than later so you get those discounts as well. We are going to have, like we said, the comedy show is Friday night at Shine Restaurant in Boulder, and then Saturday night at the Dangerous Theater in Denver. And then the Intro to SM class is going to be in Denver on Saturday and back in Boulder on Sunday.
Sunday morning.
What's that?
Sunday morning, yeah.
Yep, Sunday morning. Space is limited, so if you are interested, again, you get the early bird pricing, and make sure you hold your spot into that. We also have some things coming up later this month. Elizabeth and I will be teaching at Brio in our Beyond the Bedroom monthly workshop kind of event on sex and sensuality.
Yeah, there's so many people who confuse sensuality with sex, and when people stop being sexual, they sort of drop off the radar screen in terms of all 5 of their senses. So Jan and I are going to be teaching a class on making sense of your senses.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really fun class. It just helps people understand the difference between the two, and then you can choose to, you know, commingle them, making each one that much more flavorful, shall we say. And then we are hosting a reflexology.
So it's erotic reflexology, soul healing. Steve Steinberg and his partner, I believe her name is Laura, will be coming out and be the similar kind of thing as Jean, in that we will have a class in Denver and then a class here in Boulder, so that deal with all the driving and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a 3-hour workshop where you get to learn how to touch your partner in an erotic way. Singles are welcome. We can pair you up. There's no genital touching. We're not going to get naked or anything like that.
It's all about the feet. I can't get my foot up here. If I could, I would, but I might not be wearing any underwear. Anyway, it's all about the feet. So those who understand the meridian system and reflexology at all, there's so many places, so many erogenous zones that we can tap into on the feet, and that's going to be a fun class for us to participate in.
Yep.
And I believe Steve is going to be, that's in September, Steve is going to be on one of our Naked Talks.
Yes, we will have Steve on Naked Talk, I believe, September 2nd.
But again, all the details are on the website. Yep. Visit us often. We also have a Facebook page. Dan can tell you that, and a Flickr.
Facebook.com/Flickr?
A Flickr. What is it called?
Twitter?
Twitter!
Okay, she gets beat next.
I don't do it. The Twitter account that you can flick.
Facebook.com/bedevents, and then you can follow us on Twitter at bedevent. So the singular version of bedevents, but it's the plural version on Facebook. We also have a Pinterest account, but we haven't done a lot with it yet.
Reed's going to teach us how to do that, don't you think?
Yeah.
So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that actually about wraps. We want to thank you for being a part of this really fun, potent, kinky conversation. It's just a little flavoring. Please come and join us during the, I think, 4 activities that we have. We want to thank Jean Franzblau so much.
Thank you.
It's a prelude to us spending time in the Sex Geek summer camp together. So get ready, pack your bug spray, and we'll be eating lots of s'mores around that schmaltzy campfire that Reed is.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Bye-bye.
I'm not singing camp tune songs. I'm not.
No, he won't, but I will. I'll have a ball.
I will. I'll sing for you.
Okay, right there with you. All right, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on Friday. We hear you riding the bus too, so
I'll be on it.
we'll save seats.
Okay. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.